Good morning. Hello out there. Hi, everyone. I am lcadilac with Cadillac Law, and I am coming to you talking about the incredibly interesting and exciting Sarah Boone suitcase murder case. Okay, so last week where we left off, we were going to see opening statements. I was hoping we would see them by Wednesday or Thursday, but we didn't see them until Friday. Both of the opening statements were very, very brief. But I thought the state's opening was very impactful. So the state opened with a quote, something along the lines of, "I can't breathe, Sarah." And then Sarah's response to that.
Sarah, I can't breathe, baby. That's what I feel like when you cheat on me. Sarah, fuck you. I can't fucking breathe, Sarah. You should probably shut the fuck up. Sarah. Shh. It's the last thing.
These are the first few words that this jury is hearing about this woman. These are the first few words that this jury is hearing. This is going to be so impactful for that jury. There is no way any jury is going to be able to ever forget this opening.
You will hear the defendant say to Mr. Torres, as he is face down, zipped shut, in a suitcase. That, again, began at 11:12:45 and lasts just over 2 minutes. At 11:23 and 3 seconds p.m., there's a second 22-second video, and it's the defendant zooming in on the suitcase. And all you hear during this 22 seconds, after he's been in this suitcase since at least 11:12 p.m., is one more time, Sarah. How did we get to this point where 103 pounds...
Okay, so here's where the sound starts to go bad. Basically, when they started the trial, the sound was only working on the mic at the stand. And I think they changed it so that the lawyers can move about the well. The well is what we call the space between the judge and the attorneys and the jury. And so this lawyer is, in his opening, as most of us like to do if we're allowed, kind of walking the well, making eye contact with each juror, trying to impactfully say the words he is saying. So that is wonderful for the jury, but not great for us as a viewing audience, obviously. They did get the sound fixed a little later in the day, but like right now he's presenting, we can't hear a word that he's saying because he's on the other side of the microphone. Quite frankly, to me, it doesn't necessarily matter what the prosecution says.
The defendant's response...
Here we go.
And bless you and all of you.
This is a little later on, back when we can hear him at the mic. So the reason it doesn't matter to me what they say is you got me a hello, y'all. The first few words, Sarah, I can't breathe. Such a high impact testimony. Such high impact testimony. It's unbelievable. I'm sorry, statement. So the fact that, once he got that out, I don't know, the jury could have completely tuned out, but that was so powerful. They really didn't need to hear much else. So here he is back in the mic. We're going to listen again.
And all of you too. I'll get, in all capitals, rid of him. Then it'll be, in all capitals, better. Ugh, Torres. Referring to Mr. Torres. Getting rid of.
So those are some text messages that Sarah exchanged with Jorge's brother, and she mentioned getting rid of him and being better off without him. It is not a good look for Sarah.
And that's the case.
Now he's coming out from the podium again.
That's what the evidence.
He's saying this is the case, this is what the evidence will show.
But we, the state of Florida, and the members of the jury, in our journey to this case,
He continues to talk. We continue to not be able to hear him. And then the defense comes up for their opening
There
statement.
were incidences where police were called who took photographs. So you're going to be able to see the evidence. and believe
They fixed the mic between the prosecution and the defense because the defense is in the well right now giving his statement, and we can actually hear him.
we believe the court will instruct you at the end when you're considering self-defense, which we call justifiable use of non-deadly force or justifiable use of deadly force, that you can consider.
See, I don't know why he mentioned non-deadly force because that doesn't even matter in this case. One thing I noticed about this attorney, James Owens, is he seems to kind of like take tangents, you know, and move tangentially sometimes. And to me, that's not like the greatest move. It's better to be direct, in my opinion.
The prior acts, the history of violence, the prior difficulties that the parties had, and considering her set of circumstances that she was faced with in making the decision to use reasonable force under the circumstances. And the most important thing I can tell you here today is keep an open mind. There's two sides to every story.
This is very good opening material for a defense attorney. Keep an open mind. Remember, there's two sides to every story. The state isn't automatically correct, that kind of thing.
You're going to hear the state's side, them attempting to paint her a certain way, as they've done here today in opening statement. And then you're going to hear another side. And you're going to have to weigh that. All the evidence, the credibility of the witnesses, the photographs.
So he's focusing on the jury's job and what the jury is going to have to do, and they're going to have to focus on the weight and so on. This is what I expect in an opening statement, particularly when your defendant client has like no defense.
The videotapes and come to a conclusion. Now let's talk about this day, February 23rd of 2020, the date of this event. This case has been pending for some time. Here we are, October of 2024.
So we can add, thank you, 4.5 years later, thanks.
I think the evidence is going to show that they had purchased some wine the day before.
Okay, so notice he said the evidence is going to show. That is an opening statement. You must, in opening statement, say the evidence will show, the evidence this, you will learn, blah, blah, blah. You can't make these definitive, they went to, because then it makes it sound like a fact. So you have to throw in those statements first. The evidence will show, you will learn, we will prove, so on.
But they hadn't finished all of that. So it was in the refrigerator. Many times that's how they start their day. At some point, you're going to see a video from Publix, from where they live. I believe it's Winter Park. But Publix was not too far from their home.
He said, I believe it was Winter Park. Dude, you should know where your client was living. The whole incident happened in her house in Winter Park. I think you should know that.
Apartment complex. And they took their car, they drove over there. So you're going to see a videotape from Publix of them both going in the store about noon, and they come out with one of those larger bottles of the wine, and then of course there's a receipt, and the bottles are in the garbage can.
Should have been recycled.
Of course, there obviously is an attraction between the two. And as everybody knows, couples can have great times where things click, everybody gets along, and then we can have episodes of disagreement. And how are those resolved?
True.
Really, is what this is about. How are disagreements resolved? But George was very jealous of Sarah. And you're going to hear the testimony about that. And that he cannot, in certain situations, he can be very charming. But when his level of intoxication gets to a certain level, is when he gets sad, moody, and a lot of times eventually it involved forcible sex with Sarah Boone. or actual physical violence against her.
Now, that could have been objectionable because he didn't say the evidence will show. But usually, unless something like completely, that would call for a mistrial happens in an opening, you don't really object. It's not a good look.
They bought the wine. It's a simple life. They don't have much money. But they both like art. They did that for a while. They both like puzzles. They did that for a while. Well, about 5 or so, the wine bottle was gone. And George had said, I want to go get some cigarettes. So there's a convenience store right close by their apartment complex. And Sarah thought he was just going to walk over there and get cigarettes and come back. But no, what he did was he got her keys, he got her debit card, and he went over to the Publix and he got another bottle.
I didn't know that part. I didn't realize he used her money.
I think that was about $530, something like that. And again, there'll be the Publix video showing him going in, going out, and there'll be a receipt for the purchase of that bottle, and then there'll be that bottle.
Did you buy the cigarettes
And
too?
can, along with the other bottle. Well, when he comes in with the second bottle, Sarah knows. This is not good. She knows this means he's going to get to another level of intoxication. So, Sarah's concerned. So she attempts to placate him, keep him busy, keep him in a good mood. They drink that bottle. Well, she drinks as well. And at some point, they're intoxicated at a high level. As some people do when they're drunk, they get silly. And they decide to play a game of hide and seek.
Okay, now at this point, I would object because we have gone through like 8 or 10. He has said so many statements without doing the precursor, you will learn, and so on. I would object to this. Like, Your Honor, it's opening. Let's get some of the required language going, because right now he's saying it like it sounds like facts.
She goes upstairs, their bedroom's upstairs, to the shower and waits for a period of time. And he doesn't come to her. At some point she gets cold, she gets tired. She wants to go see, well, maybe we got it mixed up. Where is he? So she goes downstairs, and they had gotten a suitcase down a week or so ago. It's an old suitcase that they were going to donate to Helping Hands or Goodwill or somebody, and they were putting some items in there.
There's a lot of testimony.
It's a broken down suitcase. It's a large suitcase.
There's a lot of testimony, a lot of him saying what happened without saying you will learn or the evidence will show. It's a big no-no.
They both weigh about 100 pounds.
Oh, but the reason I don't think the prosecution's objecting is because this is basically a shoe-in win. And him saying this is not going to hurt their case at all. Not at all.
Don't eat good. Malnourished to a large degree. But the pull handle is broken off. And they've attached a little paper clip that's got the rubber around it. And that's how they hold it back and forth. Well, she comes down.
He just made it sound like the handle was fixed by a paper clip. It's the zipper that was fixed by a paper clip. So I don't like this opening. It's confusing and he's misstating things. He doesn't know where she lives. I mean, I've been thinking about this, and there might be a play going on with these lawyers where they are giving her ineffective assistance of counsel, and maybe he's doing things like that on purpose because she really has no other way of winning an appeal. Like, we have a video, lady, So her lawyers might be kind of like taking one for the team, so to speak, but we won't know until an appeal occurs.
The step, she sees him getting in and settling in the suitcase. So she walks over there, and, you know, they see each other, they smile and laugh, and she zips him up. And she zips him up, and they laugh for a while. And they carry on.
Telling to the jury about, oh, they're laughing and da. Well, he just said she was going to get so concerned about his drinking. So this is kind of contradicting. I feel like he's saying too many words and not enough you will learn, certainly not enough of that. And he is really kind of like contradicting himself in his opening. I do not like it.
He sits on the couch, and at some point he says, I can't breathe. Now, his face is facing the zipper, and she's got 2 or 3 inches that she's opened it. And she doesn't know. They're intoxicated. She doesn't know whether he's just saying that to try to get her to get him out or what. But he's a captive audience.
Captive.
Physically, they're the same size.
Terrible use of words, y'all. The dude is literally trapped in a suitcase and you're calling him a captive audience. It's just tasteless.
But he's much stronger than her. If they got in a fist fight, he would win 100 times out of 100.
How? Dude weighs 109
But
pounds.
she's got him now. He claims he can't get up. He has to sit and listen. It's a unique form of physical restraint.
Yeah, unique. Unique
So
is
she
the
lets him
operative
have it.
word.
Says things she shouldn't say. You'll see the video. It's about 2 minutes long. She videotapes it. She sits on the couch and turns her phone on and videotapes it for about 2 minutes.
If you're so scared, how are you videotaping?
There's another video that's approximately 11 minutes later. The first video, George is, the suitcase is flipped upside down. The zipper's on the bottom. 11 minutes later, Sarah has flipped it right side up. Again, open for him to get out. And it's only 22 seconds. And you hear George say, Sarah. And that's it. Now, the key to the case is that 11 minutes.
Is that key?
And what happened during that 11 minutes. Okay?
How is that the
That
key?
is the key to this case.
How?
Sarah Boone will take the stand. She will explain what happened. She will explain why it happened. The evidence will show that she was justified in the action she took to prevent an attack from George Torres, which the law acknowledges that every one of us has a right to invoke.
Finally, we heard the evidence will show.
You can hear from the medical examiner. She is going to tell you about some bruising on George Torres. Of course, he was in the suitcase a while, deceased, we believe. And that changes things a little bit, as the medical examiner will explain. But there's some bruising. Sarah's going to explain that to you.
See how he kind of went off on a little tangent there? I don't like that.
Why that happened. What were the circumstances surrounding that? Involving a bat. Her son comes and stays with him from time to time. He has his own room. He has several of his things there. And there's a bat downstairs. The same bat that George Torres used, and there's a video where George is threatening Sarah. And he's swinging the bat at the TV about as hard as he can. And he does it about 6 or 7 times. You'll see it. Sarah's recording it. And it's during an argument. And he's trying to intimidate. Sarah loved you. You know, you're going to hear why women don't leave. Why women don't leave. And you're going to hear about Sarah Boone and her struggles, her mental health struggles.
Oh, now we have a mental health defense? The defense really flip-flops everywhere, man. Like, they have yet to choose, like, this is our defense.
Sarah had no intent to kill. The prosecutor mentioned she wanted him to die. Farthest from the truth. She loved the man. She hated the abuse.
Okay.
She couldn't.
She loved her man. She hated the abuse. That should have been his opening line. That should have been the first thing he said. She loved her man. She hated her abuse. And if it was my opening statement, it would look and sound a lot different than this. This is not how I would write. Another thing to note, he is not utilizing the well. He's just standing. So that is interesting to me.
Leave. She tried. She tried kicking him out 6 or 7 times. He kept coming back. She changed the locks. He kept coming back. She didn't have the family. She didn't have the support. She was weak, vulnerable. You're going to hear it all. You've got to take that all into account to try to understand what happened and the circumstances surrounding this tumultuous relationship. Now, you're going to find that Sarah's not perfect. And, you know, she goes, as many of us do when we drink too much, you know, you sleep in. She slept in. 11, 12, 1.
That's why I don't drink, y'all.
Somewhere around there, she moseys downstairs looking for George. She thought he was on the computer looking for a job. She looked outside, maybe he's out smoking a cigarette, and she sees the suitcase.
He goes like this. Which I'm sure is what she did.
She unzips it. She gets him out. He's purple.
Oh, she did pull him out, okay.
She tries her best to do some CPR. She freaks out. The only family she's got is her ex-husband, really. She relies on him. As the prosecutor said, a lot of times she'll flee to her ex-husband's house. And where her son is at. Lucas.
I'm sure her ex-husband just loves that. I'm sure he loves that.
It's the only thing she knows to do. She was kind of a sheltered daughter when she was younger. She's smart, but she's not worldly. She calls Brian. Look, what do I do? He said, I'm coming over. Please come over. He's about 5 minutes away. And she calls him again within a couple of minutes. Yeah, I'm on the way. He gets there. He walks in the foyer and sees his legs. And she called 911. She calls 911 within a minute to Detective Rodriguez.
Okay, so she's smart but not worldly, so she didn't know to call 911. I don't know, man. It's not working for me. But I have seen the videos already, so.
As arrives, they got the body cam now, so it's recorded. So you're going to hear Sarah talking. But Sarah's freaking out. Sarah's thinking, and I'm somehow responsible.
Because she is.
Eventually, she gives a statement to law enforcement. She gives one to Detective or Deputy Rodriguez. Of course, she's not the homicide investigator. She's just responding. She's the first responder. And they know what to do. They try to assess the situation. They start putting the tape out. And then they call for the homicide investigators to come, which takes a little time. So she gets a statement from Sarah. Eventually, the homicide detectives get a statement from Sarah and one of the unmarked squad cars. And it's recorded. You may hear that.
And this is already twice as long as the state's opening. And to me, that sends a sign to the jury that the state knows what they're talking about and he doesn't. Why was the state be able to, within like 4 minutes, 5 minutes, just... And he's not, Because when you lie, you have to make shit up. You have to say more words.
And then the next day, they take Sarah's phone.
Not to say the lawyer's lying. To say Sarah's lying and he's defending her.
Sarah gives him the phone, signs the consent to take the phone.
She should have never done that.
Take it to, they have a phone extraction people at the sheriff's department.
Who you'll hear from.
Take out all the data, all your phone calls, text messages, photographs, videos, all that. And they find these two videos. Sarah's not aware, she doesn't remember making the video.
That's not a defense.
She gives him the phone. Of course, she makes no attempts to do anything other than, here's the phone. So they tell her, you're going to get your phone back tomorrow. We'll bring it back to you tomorrow. Well, they end up having a conversation with the female detective, homicide detective, Hobson is her name, Chelsea Hobson. And they end up, Deputy Hobson was pregnant, or Detective Hobson was pregnant. They said, hey, we're not going to bring your phone. I'm not feeling good. I'm pregnant. Can you come to the sheriff's department? Which Sarah Boone was to tell you that was what I was going. That's what they told me. I was going to the sheriff's.
So now he's arguing that motion again in front of the jury and saying like she was coerced to the cop shop.
Well, instead it was an interrogation. And they were going to arrest her.
They read her rights.
And they were going to confront her and try to get her to confess based on the two videotapes. And so there's approximately a 2-hour interrogation that was on the 25th in the afternoon when she got there to get her phone. They said, well, we got to come up here. We need to talk to you. And they got her in the room. It's a small room, but it's being videotaped and audio taped. And it goes on for about 2 hours of them trying to get a confession to murder. And it doesn't happen. But Sarah lies. She's scared. She can tell they're trying to pin her on this, that this was some kind of intentional act, and it was not. So she lies. She's not a lawyer. She doesn't know about self-defense. She doesn't understand she has a lawful right to defend herself. She doesn't understand that she's justified in using the force that she used. She doesn't. I wasn't there to advise her. No lawyer was there. So she lied. And you're going to hear that. So you're going to have to balance that versus her taking the stand and testifying before you.
So I do think it was really great that he acknowledged the lying in that opening. I think it's a really smart move because they are going to impeach the shit out of her and it's going to make her look awful. And so the fact that he said up front, she was scared, she didn't have a lawyer, so she made some shit up, brilliant. That will soften the blow.
And we simply ask that you look for the evidence of cooperation of her testimony. It's going to be later, probably next week. The judges will tell you and read an instruction on evaluating a witness's credibility. And they'll talk about corroborative evidence, other evidence that's consistent with the testimony that Sarah Boone did. So you're going to have to weigh that in her testimony. Now, self-defense, we talked about it in jury selection, usually a gun, some deadly weapon. The suitcase in this case was a physical restraint or a blocking of an attack, but it was unconventional.
Say the least.
Self-defense nonetheless.
That's an uphill battle to climb there, guys.
Now, as I said, the struggles that occurred, many of them involved the police. So you're going to actually hear from some of the police officers. Maybe some body cam footage. You're going to see some photographs that they took of the injuries to Sarah Boone. And some of the videos you may see of her in a very happy, joyful type of thing. Well, number one, she's intoxicated. Number two, she's safe. The police are there. So her attitude is not one of distress.
So again, he has so much to overcome. He has so much to overcome because her behavior is mismatched at every turn, right? He is brilliantly doing it now. Put it up front. Address the issue now. Then there's no elephant in the room.
We're here today, full packed courtroom. Judge Crane's here, but you're the most important people. Because you've got to decide this case honestly, fairly, and according to the law. And we talked about the two biggest principles from the Constitution that apply. In this case, and in every case in which a citizen like Sarah Boone is brought into a courtroom and accused of a crime. The first is, you as a juror must presume or believe that Sarah is innocent.
Okay, very
And
good.
that belief stays with you throughout the entire trial.
Until?
Because of that, she doesn't have to prove anything.
Very good.
That's why the state went first in jury selection. That's why the state went first today. That's why the state will go first putting on their case. They have the burden of proof, and it's the highest burden we recognize in any type of litigation in this country. Proof beyond and to the exclusion of every reasonable doubt.
Mm-hmm. Very
You
good.
are going to have doubts about this case.
I don't think they will.
But the most
What doubt is there to have?
is not rush to judgment, to keep an open mind.
Okay, this is
And
very
understand
good.
there's two sides to this case.
Okay,
There's their
I
side
guess that's their theme.
and there's our side. So you can't form any fixed opinions early on. That's hard to do, as Mr. Henderson said in jury selection. That's extremely hard to do. Now you're going to hear some testimony.
He's still going.
There's been mention of experts. Battered women's experiences affect her perception of imminent danger. Battered women's experiences
I had to
affect
speed
her
him up.
perception of imminent danger.
He's still going, and it's just like, come on, get to the point now. I felt like that was the end, and then no, he's decided to talk more about battered women, so I had to speed this up.
Victims of repeat violence may fear death in a situation others would not. After hearing both sides of this case, we're confident you're going to have a reasonable law. And we're going to ask you to follow the law and do justice in this case. And find Sarah Boone not guilty. Because it's the right thing.
Thank you, sir. To the parties first for a moment.
Okay, so on Friday, the prosecution called not one, not two, but 10 witnesses. They called 10 witnesses on Friday. On Monday, they called a bunch of witnesses. On Monday, we had the autopsy report. We learned that George is 5'2" and weighed 108 pounds, I think. So learning that, it's going to be really hard to say you were actually afraid of this person because he's the size of an 11-year-old girl. Okay, so like, I don't know how you could really be afraid of someone you can throw, but that's just me. And this is the thing, Sarah looks today like she could throw 102 pounds. So I don't know. I believe truly that the prosecution did a way better job at their opening statement, but also, and I have affirmed this and I will reaffirm, the defense has the hardest job. They are walking both ways, uphill, in a skirt, no shoes on, in the snow, talking. This is a uphill battle if I ever heard one. So today is Tuesday. I'm filming. We will release this on Wednesday. I believe on Wednesday the defense will begin the presentation of their case. And I'm hoping that the jury has a verdict by Friday, but it may extend into next week. So we shall see. Thank you all for joining me. Thank you for your likes, your subscribes. I appreciate it. Come back next Wednesday and we'll talk more about Sarah Boone.